Hello and welcome. We're really excited for this week's MindStudio AI Developer Showcase. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Peter Bittner of The Upgrade. And we have our very special guest, Kevin Greene. And Kevin's going to give you some behind-the-scenes look at what he is leveraging with AI for his business. And his journey is anything but ordinary, from the NFL to AI, and he's going to jump in and give you a little bit more insight into his journey. Kevin, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Chelyn. I appreciate it. So great to be with you and Peter today, and such an exciting topic, I think, for people who are leaders, people who are running their own business, people who are trying to, see around corners and figure out what's next and how to apply it into their business. And you can't look around the corner and not see AI right there. So it's such a great topic.
Outstanding. Well, what really inspired you to get into? I know with the AI we're going to talk about, it is in and around negotiating, but I think your journey has been so fascinating of how you built your expertise around negotiating. So tell us a little bit more about how that became that part of your journey and what you wanted to build your business around.
Yeah, sure. I'd be happy to. And you were right when you said my journey hasn't been very ordinary. I would have to agree with you on that. I went to school at Syracuse. I had the opportunity to play football there, and I had kind of aspirations to make it into the NFL. And I thought the likelihood of getting drafted was better than not getting drafted, and it turned out that I didn't get drafted. But leading up to the draft, I had signed an agent. And the agent had a lot of enthusiasm about me as the draft pick. But after, I didn't get drafted and he realized he was going to have to work a lot harder to get me placed somewhere, I could see that he just wasn't really up to the task. And so I decided that I needed to fire my agent and decide to, represent myself. So eventually ended up calling every team in the NFL. And I got tryouts with 3 teams, the Jets and the Cowboys and the 49ers. And my first trip was to New York to work out with the Jets, and I had a really good workout there, and I flew down to Dallas from there and had a good workout there, and the Cowboys asked me to come back 2 days later for another workout, and the day in between, the Jets called me, and we began a negotiation over a contract, and suddenly, as a kid out of college, I found myself in the very unusual position of having to negotiate my own contract with the general manager of a National Football League team, who was one of the most respected guys in the NFL and a truly class human being, by the way, Dick Steinberg. And so it was a very unusual place to get exposed to negotiation. But that became kind of a catalyst for me in terms of sparking my interest in negotiation. So I started to pay attention to everything that was going on around me and look at it through the lens of a negotiation, watch the news differently, paid attention to politics differently, paid attention to business differently, and kind of informally would help other players a little bit with negotiations. And when I got done, I went to work in consulting, and I focused on the subject of negotiation, and eventually ended up writing a seminar and a book, and I started traveling all over the place teaching seminars on negotiation. And maybe Monday and Tuesday I'd be in Nova Scotia working with an oil company. And then on Wednesday, I'd fly to Silicon Valley and be working with a high-tech company on Thursday, Friday. Then I'd trade out my dry cleaning on the weekend. And on Sunday, I'd be off to St. Louis to work with all the buyers at Anheuser-Busch. And I was going to be a teacher, but I was really a sponge. I was just learning from smart people across all these different industries. And it was such an amazing learning experience. But I remember there was this one weekend when I was doing a seminar in Buffalo, New York. And I had to be in Halifax, Nova Scotia the following Monday, Tuesday. So I didn't bother going home to Southern California for the weekend. I decided to go to Boston and camp out there. And you know what I was thinking about? I was thinking about how lucky I was that people would pay me to be a coach, because I'm kind of a coach by nature. Football gave me that for sure. And I remember thinking that this is great that people will pay me to do this job, because I love the topic. I love to be a coach. But, one of these days with this whole internet thing, now this goes back like 25 years, I'm going to train thousands of people without leaving my garage. So I had this early ambition for technology, and my desire was one day I'm going to be able to create an experience online that's every bit as good as the experience we can have when we're all together. So I started to really focus on technology. I started to learn how to develop technology. I started to early stage fund technology, all with this same ambition. And you know what? Nobody cared. Nobody cared until, like, as we were moving into before 2020, everybody still wanted me to go do the work in person. And then we would use technology as a follow-up, as a means to reinforce the stuff that I did in person. But nobody wanted to use tech as a primary way of delivering consulting and training, right? And then all of a sudden, March of 2020 rolls around, right? Pandemic hits. And literally, it's a Friday. And I'm supposed to travel on Sunday to Ohio because I'm quarterbacking a $300 million negotiation. And I've got a Monday, Tuesday training session to do. I've got a Wednesday kickoff to a coaching program. And then it's going to start probably a 6-month process leading towards the conclusion of these negotiations. And literally on Friday, my client calls me and says, Kevin, because of the pandemic, everything's shut down. Nobody can fly in or out. People can't even come in or out of the office. Everybody's working from home. But we have to do this. What are we going to do? So I literally took the whole weekend retrofitting my 2-3 day program, 2 days of training and coaching, and third day of coaching to the technology. And I literally ran the whole 3-day program exactly as I would online. And you know what? People loved it as much as they do when we're all together in person. And the results were every bit as good as they are when we're in person. And so here I was in this crazy moment that we were all in, just being introduced to this pandemic. Certainly we didn't know how bad it would become, but in that moment I started to think, you know what, there might be some good things that come out of this, because this was an eye-opening experience in terms of what's possible. So then something sort of unexpected happened. My client started to say, hey, Kevin, you're way ahead of everybody in this. How did you do this? We need to figure out how to do what you're doing, because our salespeople used to get on airplanes to see clients, and now they can't do that anymore. We used to do training classes in person. Now we can't do that anymore. Our folks who used to come into the office and have a culture because they were together can't do that anymore. So we started to apply virtual technology to a lot of different things. And we ran state of the state addresses from a political standpoint, and debates and fundraisers and virtual wine tasting events and virtual holiday parties, all this stuff to support our clients who were trying to figure all this out as well. And we ended up getting a little mention in the Wall Street Journal, and that kind of gave a little boost to this thing that we call the Breakthrough Events Company now, where people can do virtual events. But what was interesting is that after the pandemic was over, nobody really went back to in person. 90-something% of our bookings of the things that I do are, in the studio right here in the lights. Yeah. My clients tease me because I have clients from 25 years ago that are still my clients today. My first clients are still my clients today. And they say, Kevin, some people start in their garage and can't wait to get on the big stage. And you started on kind of a bigger stage and couldn't wait to get to the garage. And, that's really kind of, we have the studio set up here, and that's where we pretty much deliver this stuff. But then as we move past the pandemic, and we've become this technology company as well, not just for the stuff that we do, but for our clients as well. AI obviously became the very next thing that we had to target in terms of understanding where things were going, right? And AI obviously was going to be an enormous game changer. And so I had an ambition to build Breakthrough Negotiating AI, something that could be a coach or a consultant that could be fully knowledgeable about everything that I've done with breakthrough negotiating, seminars, consulting, training, writings, research, all of that, and be able to build it into an AI and incorporate it into a learning experience. And of course, I also wanted to understand AI for other reasons, because I have 4 kids. You guys might have kids. And what is AI going to mean to the future, right? Is this my friend? Or is this something I need to punch in the mouth? Like, where is it in between here, right? We need to understand that. So I had lots of incentive for wanting to understand AI. And fortunately, found this gentleman here, Peter Bittner, and Dimitri, who runs MindStudio. And I thought, I want to build here. I want to build AI here with these guys, because these guys are onto something in terms of the way they built the technology, in terms of the way they see things moving forward. Their vision is right. and also first class people to be around. And so it was an easy thing for me to want to immerse myself in that. So I'm going to share with you guys some of the stuff that we've built, and maybe you'll see yourself in this. You'll see your own path in this. And anyway, my only objective here is to help you guys in sharing my story and how this and the way we're applying AI now, and hopefully you guys will be able to find some application for it as well, because we know that this is where it's moving. So if you're a leader, even if you're not using it yet, probably it's time to start understanding it pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope that everyone watching will be inspired to think about how this can play out in your companies and your jobs. And it is fascinating. And I think for me, one of the reasons that MindStudio was such an incredible tool was just what you said, is it wasn't, I think people are becoming more and more knowledgeable about asking ChatGPT questions and getting information back, but that you can use MindStudio to train with specific expertise. So that in your case, it's what is, decades of experience and knowledge and expertise and content, and that the output there is specific to that, and that can be done fairly straightforward way. But I'm going to turn this over to Peter. If you could give a little bit of background about yourself and the upgrade, how the two of you connected, and then lead off the demo. And I will get out of the way here to give a little more space for the screen. And Kevin, I'm really excited to see what you've put together.
Totally. Yeah. Excited to reconnect with you, Kevin. So my background is in media instruction and training. I've been a professor and lecturer at UC Berkeley for the last 7 years. I've been also starting my own brand and company called The Upgrade to help bridge the digital skills gap when it comes to AI tools. And I discovered MindStudio as someone who introduced it to his students, and they were blown away. I was blown away. I had a similar reaction to Kevin of just really being impressed by the product, as well as the vision and the team, right? So I connected with founder of MindStudio, Dimitri, and CEO, and we've been collaborating now for the last 6 months. And Kevin was in one of our very first cohorts in our MindStudio certification program, and that's still ongoing. We run workshops now as part of a 3-tiered AI expert certification process, all focused on MindStudio to build automations, apps, sophisticated workflow enhancements for pretty much every niche imaginable. And I love Kevin's final project in our early cohort. We now have an exam-based path, but Kevin's project here is so memorable. We wanted to have him back and walk us through it. And Kevin, tell me a little bit of background about how you identified this as a project to focus on. You mentioned previously this AI as part of an enhancement to your previous business offerings, but give us a little context.
Yeah, Peter, I already kind of had an idea of what I wanted to accomplish before I even came to your course, right? And you guys were so good in terms of the way that you laid everything out. I began to immediately see a path for how I could do what I had in my head that I wanted to do. And the tool itself is incredible. MindStudio is an unbelievable place to build AI in a way that matches the vision that you have for it. So, I kind of came in already thinking about the application of AI, and there was really two main things that I wanted to achieve. One of them is that I wanted to be able to build a tool that would act as sort of like I would if I was able to coach every person who's been through the program and be available to answer any question that they would ever have, in a future negotiation. Because, a training class is an event, and it's something that people carry with them in terms of their knowledge and their ability to apply. But, I wish I could be there to answer questions that they'd have for every negotiation, but that's not possible, right? So my first thought on the AI is, can I build a breakthrough negotiating coach? One that could actually kind of sit on the shoulder of every organizational negotiator and be there to help them plan and strategize. be there to help them maybe even practice and role play a negotiation before a negotiation took place to answer questions they might have. So my first thought was I'd like to build an AI version of a breakthrough negotiating coach or a co-pilot. And then the second thing was, as people go through my training programs, they often, when we're doing a large seminar and people come together to the class, they negotiate with each other as part of the experience, right? But what about the people who would want to register for the class by themselves? Sometimes I do a seminar and maybe there's 50 people who come to the training. And then next week they hire somebody new. Well, how does that person get trained? Well, they could listen to my audios or something like that. But what if I could give them the same experience by themselves? So I basically decided to build an AI negotiating opponent for people who enroll in the class by themselves to actually have someone to negotiate with. So those were the two core objectives that I had when I came into the course. And thanks to you, Peter, and MindStudio, mission accomplished.
Super cool. I really want to dig in, and can you screen share and take us behind the scenes or show us how it works?
Yeah, sure.
Perspective.
Yeah, for sure. If you guys don't mind, I'll call up behind me here call up the inside of the learning center here, and then I'm going to go ahead and get myself out of the way. So when you log in, if you go to breakthroughnegotiating.com, if you happen to register for the course, you come into the course. And you'll see that and I'm going to get myself out of the way here, that there's basically 5 different modules or 5 different steps. You start here, you kind of get the debrief and the instructions on how everything works. Then you move into the live training. So the live training is actually pretty amazing. So imagine this. My breakthrough negotiating program is typically a 2-day seminar, but we built a 1-day version of the training program that plays every day of the week, Monday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. in 3 different time zones: Pacific, Eastern, and GMT. Well, how in the world did we do that, right? Because it's impossible for me to do. It's because it's a live training simulation. So you actually enroll in the course, you sign up, and then you can attend the course any day you want to, right? You can choose the time zone that you want to attend in. And basically, there's a start time at 8:30 in the morning. There's an end time at 5:30 in the afternoon. There's breaks in the morning and the afternoon. There's a break for lunch. So the participant experiences the course as if it were actually live. And I'm going to show you that in a second and give you a quick look at how we've incorporated the AI into that class. Then you come to something that's called CoachCast. And CoachCast is basically an 11-episode, 5.5-hour AI infused podcast that makes the podcast interactive for you to interact with the content. And then we've got the step number 4 is breakthrough negotiating AI, where you actually get access to this breakthrough negotiating coach that helps you with planning and strategy, role play, and Q&A. And then you go through a certification process at the end, which allows you to get your digital badge and your certificate of completion. So it's all kind of contained in here. So if we go into the live training session, you're going to see it's really simple. It's all self-contained. You land on this little page right here. I give you a little bit of instruction on how everything works. And then you basically just choose your time zone, Pacific, Eastern, or GMT. So if I choose Pacific, sorry, I mean to do that. Let me refresh this. Putting me out of my own class. There's got to be a rule against that of some kind. Shouldn't there be? All right, hold on. I'm going to come over here, come back into the class. I'm going to choose Pacific time zone, and then I'm going to choose access your training. And then you'll see that right here, right now, I'm going over this. It's right now, it's 9:50 in the morning Pacific time. And if I press the play button, you'll see that this class is playing live at 9:50 in the morning Pacific time. This is what's happening in the class right now. So let me kind of pause this so it doesn't talk over me. And then you'll see behind me, and I'll make myself invisible here for a second. You'll see behind me that this is your little panel. It's really simple. You've got a home, you've got schedule, you've got negotiate with AI, and you've got course completion. So when I tell people, okay, it's time to negotiate your case study, you basically click into here, right? And you're going to get like a debrief on the case study with a countdown clock on how much time you have remaining. And then down here, you begin your negotiation with Alex. That's the name of our AI negotiator. And boom, it's a chat-based interaction. And you have up to 15 minutes to complete this negotiation. And then as soon as you're done, you basically go back into your time zone. and boom, you're right back here. And then I'm going to go over the things that you just negotiated with Alex, and that's how that whole thing works. And then when you want to, go back to your home, you just go back to the home. So that's how the live training works. It's available in 3 different time zones. And when you come into the class, there doesn't have to be 30 or 40 people that came with you to negotiate with somebody. You negotiate with the AI. So you have a live training experience by virtue of having the AI built in as a counterpart. Now, when you move down to the Breakthrough Negotiating AI, part of the Breakthrough Negotiating experience, this is where you get access to sort of the Breakthrough Negotiating coach. I'm going to call that up behind me in a little bit of a different way. Now, let me come back onto the screen here just a little bit. I'm going to show you behind me in just a second the Breakthrough Negotiating AI, and it's going to play kind of quickly because the data has been pre-populated. But there's 3 things the Breakthrough Negotiating AI does. The first thing it does is it helps you plan and strategize for a negotiation. So it's kind of a brainstorming tool. It will give you ideas to be able to think about as it pertains to your upcoming negotiation. Now, remember, the way that's going to work is there's 2 things that are going to happen. First, the AI is going to access the entire body of the training of the model that I've placed in. Okay, all the breakthrough negotiating information. So the AI is mindful, is basically an expert breakthrough negotiating coach based on the way I've trained it. And then the AI is going to ask the user a bunch of questions that pertain to the negotiation they're involved with, and the user is going to provide those inputs, and then the AI is going to match the inputs against the model that's been the training of the model, and it's going to provide an editable document with a bunch of ideas for how to approach the negotiation. And the user can say, oh, I like this idea, I want to add to it. I want to modify it. Oh, I want to keep this one. Oh, I don't like this idea. Let me delete that one. And then the user, once they're ready, they can go ahead and actually press the next button at the bottom, and they'll be able to interact with the document itself, and even download it as a PDF and share it with other people on their team. The second application, I'm going to show you this in a second, is role play. So you could actually give the AI a scenario, and the AI will present an opponent with a backstory and a personality and an agenda and a name, and you'll have the opportunity to negotiate with it before your actual real life negotiation begins. Now, we all know from sports that practice is kind of a pretty important part of being ready to play on game day, right? But how often do we go into negotiations on game day, right, without having practiced at all, because we don't have a way to do it? But now there's a way to actually do that. And this is a really powerful way for anticipating things that will happen in the real negotiation that you couldn't anticipate the other way. And then the third thing is Q&A. You could basically ask the AI anything you want to anywhere during the process and get some valuable feedback in terms of how maybe you solve a problem or how you might approach a situation in a negotiation. I'm gonna show you what that looks like behind me here. I'm gonna call up the Breakthrough Negotiating AI, and let me just get out of the way here. This is the home page for it. Basically, you just press the open button, and then you got these 3 options here. You could choose ideas. That's the Breakthrough Negotiating planning. The AI prompts you with a bunch of questions. You give it a bunch of inputs and responses. And then what will happen is the AI will take the inputs and match it against the training that it's been given and provide an editable document, a negotiation planning guide. Okay. And then, once you've got this, again, you could download it, share it with other members of your team, whatever. Second thing is role play. You could give the AI any scenario you want to, and even not give them a lot of information, and it will present an opponent. You could say, I'm thinking about buying an ice cream shop, and I'd like to practice for that negotiation. Can you help me? And boom, here's your ice cream shop owner that you're about to negotiate with. Now, the third item is Q&A. You could ask the AI anything you want to during the negotiating process. Any question you have, you could say, I'm not sure how much I should ask for in this negotiation. Don't want to ask for too much. Don't want to ask for too little. What advice can you give me? And the AI will present some advice that it will share with you, some things for you to consider that come straight from the body of the training that we've provided it. Now, here's the thing to know about this AI. It's amazing, right? But it's not a substitute for you. Okay, I mean, the AI provides you things to think about, things to consider, but it doesn't make decisions for you, right? And this is super important in the context of negotiation and how this type of AI could be applied in a lot of other scenarios too, because in negotiation, what happens? When we're under stress, we start to have tunnel vision because we go into this fight or flight mentality, right? And that works against us as negotiators because it eliminates our ability to see from a larger solution set, things that, might allow us to approach the negotiation in a way that's more beneficial to us and the other party as well. But what the AI does is it keeps all those ideas current for you, right? It keeps you mindful of those things, and it allows you to engage in a negotiation in a way that gives you a much better chance to optimize the opportunity that the negotiation presents, right? So the AI is used in these two places, right? One, it's used, as a negotiating opponent in the context of the actual live training that happens every day. And then it's used as a negotiation coach and assistant to you that you can access and reference anytime you want to during a negotiation, right before perhaps you're involved in a negotiation that might matter a lot to you.
Amazing. Yeah. Really cool to see how you've built this AI negotiation partner as part of your online, accelerator coaching, program, whatever you want to call it. It's clear that you're having, really interesting value add experience here that you've built for your students. And I love those three different functionalities, right? That it can use it as, a sort of real life mock negotiation, or perhaps, thought partner, advisor, mentor, right? And, this is all trained on your data, right? Your proprietary system expertise, learnings, right? On kind of your internal knowledge base, right? I just wanted to confirm that. And would also just ask, how are students using this? What's their feedback?
Feedback's been outstanding so far. People are really excited about it. From a training and development perspective, it's a giant leap forward, right? Because it's not just an event, right, anymore, or it's not just stuff that you can access to listen to or to read through. Now it's something you can actually have to take with you as a coach, or as something that helps you think through all of the things that you might want to think through at the moment. You need to think through them, right? So all that stuff remains top of mind. So it's a huge step forward in terms of the application of learning, right, and the ability to apply it in the moment, right when you need to be able to apply it. Of course, I'm sure that as folks are listening to this, you realize there's a lot of other applications for this stuff too, and in the same way that the way we were delivering the breakthrough negotiating training program live and the way that we still deliver it, live in these virtual settings, we're incorporating all this AI into that as well. But we're also now building these things for companies as well at iBreakthrough.com. We've got basically what amounts to a digital production company where AI has very quickly become, the number one thing that we're doing. And we haven't really proactively gone out and pushed any of this. People come into the negotiating program, they say, how did you do this? We need to do that. And that's kind of the way, things have worked. But there's lots of branches on this tree with the AI. We do a lot of work in certain niches, including niches to do with hospitals and health systems that have very unique sets of negotiations. And we have unique iterations of these tools for that stuff as well. But, here's the thing. You can hire an organization like ours to do this, or you can go to Peter and get yourself trained and learn to do it yourself as well. The thing that's important, and Peter's modest, probably, I don't know if he would say this, but first of all, you should know this is not code. You're not having to learn to code. These are no code tools, right? And so AI is more about language and your ability to articulate and your ability to envision a solution that you want and create a workflow, for those things so that you can create the end experience that you want people to have. It's not about, your zeros and your ones and your brackets and all that stuff. Okay. In fact, if I call something in behind me right now, I think, and Peter, maybe I'm speaking out of school to share this, but these are the four things I think about that are the most important for you to think about when you're building an AI, right? These are the four things that really go into it. The first thing is the AI needs instructions. It doesn't do anything without you giving an instruction. So there's a base prompt that gives it a basic understanding, of what it needs to do. Like, tell me what to do. Okay. You have to give it a base prompt that describes exactly what its job is, what role it's going to play, what task it's supposed to accomplish, what type of people it's supposed to help, what's the goal of the experience. You have to give it instructions. Now, the instructions don't just happen in the beginning with the base prompt. Believe it or not, throughout the workflow that you create, sometimes you have to whisper in the AI's ear other instructions, things that the user doesn't even necessarily see. Like after step 3, before you give the user their next choice, I want you to do this with the information that you've been given so far. So there's different places to place instruction for the AI, right? The AI needs instruction. The second thing is inputs, just in the same way that you saw the user input information about a negotiation into the example that I showed you with the breakthrough negotiating AI. The user needs to have input, right? Because that's how the experience becomes tailored. That's how it becomes conversational in the experience, right? So there have to be some inputs at the user. You have to think about what inputs you want the person to provide the AI so that the experience can be had. The AI also needs insights, right? You guys probably all played with Chat GPT. There's probably hundreds of learning language models out there at this point. But the thing is, what makes the AIs that you build yourself different than that is the insights that you put into them. In the same way that I trained the model on my experience with breakthrough negotiating to make it uniquely helpful to specific types of people at specific moments in time. That's what insights do you need to give the AI in order for its outputs to be valuable to the user. And then the fourth thing is integrations. And the AI at MindStudio is capable of reaching out and connecting with other data sources. So let's say you have a third-party data set. Maybe it comes from a spreadsheet or a database of some kind, and you want the AI to be mindful of that data in real time. Maybe you're the CEO of a company and you want to have a real-time awareness of your KPIs, and you want to be able to interact with those KPIs in real time and to have it be a conversational interaction where you're chatting back and forth and getting information back. You can do that, right? Maybe you want the information that you have put into the experience you've put into the AI to actually be integrated so that the AI interaction becomes an output and it goes somewhere else. You can integrate input and output. And I guess if I was going to add a fifth eye, because we're on the eye thing here, I would say also iteration, because all of these tools require fine tuning, right? That you create a base model and then people experience it and then you tweak it a little bit, right? Or there's new training that you have to add to it and you add to it. So all of these things are iterative in the way you need to approach them. But I think these are the things that you think about. And I would strongly encourage you to think about enrolling in Peter's course. They've got a great setup for it. It's a really good way for you to start to at least conceptualize what AI can do and what it can't do, in which ways it could create problems for you and things that you need to be mindful of as a leader so that you navigate your organization properly around those things, and also the opportunity associated with those things. And that's the way every new tech is, right? There's like danger and there's opportunity, right? So as a leader, you need to know this stuff for both of those reasons, right? To make sure that you steer your organization away from the trouble, you understand the competitive threats that they'll bring into play, and so that you can also figure out how to take advantage of the tremendous opportunity that AI brings as well. So lots to think about here, but I would definitely encourage you to jump on in and to go through this course, if for no other reason, to understand how AI works behind the scenes.
Thanks so much, Kevin. Yeah, we have, a variety of people coming from all sizes of organizations, all different industries. And that's what makes it so fun in many ways as a cohort, right? We've had, VPs from Salesforce. We've had, managers from NASA. We've had, a lot of entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, government agencies, represented in our cohorts and our courses. And what we're finding time and time again is, you hit upon this, the combination of domain expertise and, real life knowledge translated and combined with AI into, an application, an experience, right? An automation is resulting in some really incredible gains, right? For organizations, for, individuals too, that are just saving so much time, so many resources, and giving their team superpowers to go out and achieve so much more. And love the example of how you're using it. I really like that framework too, of those 4 different categories on the chart of what to think about when you're developing or approaching building an AI, yeah, there's no longer a need to really know hardly anything at all about coding, but just starting with a no code product like MindStudio, you're able to now really just get into the good stuff with, really simple blocks on a canvas to build piece by piece, your sophisticated, really, in many ways fine-tuned, already trained on your data using whatever AI model you want, having the ability to put together multiple sequences and workflows. This is all part of sort of the magic of MindStudio, and we're seeing students come out of our courses, landing real life clients if they're launching consultancy, right? And a lot of students like you didn't really initially plan to be in that space, right? But they've, through word of mouth, been developing their own sort of side hustles, or in some cases entire lines of business, right, that have sprung up. In our office hours this morning, there's students who are saying, I have so much interest and demand in my new skill set here, and they're not even certified yet, but their customers from their current business are getting so excited about what they're building and able to do now with MindStudio that these students are already recruiting other students from their cohort who again aren't even alumni yet to go and help build these real life business solutions for real companies. There's just so much potential here, and we're facilitating that, right? We're really committed as the MindStudio Academy to not only just training people and getting them a LinkedIn badge, that's all great, but we want to build this ecosystem sustainably and make sure that we're having really robust, real life success stories. And yeah, it's so great to see yours and hear about what you're up to these days, Kevin. A lot has changed in the last even 3 to 4 months since you came through. We've had over 100 students come through the program since you were here, and yeah, a lot of people going out and transforming their own businesses or others with MindStudio.
Well, you guys do a great job, and the other members of your team too. Super personable, obviously caring, super responsive. And when you think about AI, you think of something that is not human, right? But with you guys, it's very human, and I think that's super important. So good for you guys for doing such a good job, and I've certainly appreciated what I've learned there. And I would just also say real quick, first of all, just so you guys know, I was with the Jets for like 5 minutes. Okay. I never even made it all the way to the first game, but it was a catalyst moment for me, in being exposed to negotiation skills. And I kind of think those moments come along once in a while, and we're sort of in another one of those moments. It's sort of a collective moment, though, for us in terms of what's happening with AI. There may be some of you out there who would rather just pull the covers over your head and wish that, AI just wasn't here. And I can certainly understand why you might feel that way. It definitely is going to be disruptive, and there's going to be challenges associated with it for sure. There's also tremendous opportunities for it, but either way, we're living right now. You know what I mean? Like we're alive in an amazing time. And I don't think you want to sleep through it or you want to hide from it. I think you want to go into it and you want to lean into it, because over the next few years, AI and conversations around AI are going to permeate all aspects of our lives. And you don't want to be on the outside of that conversation, not understanding what's going on. You want to be in the conversation, right? You want to lean into it. So I would just encourage you guys to lean into this breakthrough moment and figure it out for your own self, so you have your own point of view on these things.
I love your comment about iteration too, that you don't have to decide to transform your business or your company, your role into, an AI model, but just taking those steps and having some pilots. And one thing I appreciate about you, Kevin, is your company and your background, and all of it is built out to support leaders. And this is just an enhancement and a way, I think back at so many of the experts that I've hired to do training for my team. And as much as some of us love that kind of learning, most were kind of rolling their eyes because here we go again. It's the next thing we're going to have to take 2 days out of the field and learn something new, and nothing's going to happen with it. This AI and this technology makes all of that kind of, that just is in the space I know, that training, whether that's internal teams where you have one, sales leader who can't be with everyone in the field, but now you can take that expertise and do that practice, and that, how you practice is how you play, but it's hard to practice. And I really appreciate that you have the other expertise to bring this to life and support. So if anyone is wanting to sort of shortcut the implementation of some AI, how do they get in touch with you? There is a QR code on the screen that will take everyone to your site, but what kind of people would you best be able to serve, and how would you like them to engage with you?
Thanks, Chelyn. I appreciate that. Well, the first thing I would do before checking out any of my stuff is I'd go get signed up for Peter's class. Okay. And then after you're signed up for Peter's class, you could do a couple of things. One, at breakthroughnegotiating.com, obviously you can enroll in the negotiation training programs there. You've got the 1-day course that's available all the time that you can enroll in anytime you want to. And if you've got a group of 30 or 40 or more and you want to do something where I'm actually teaching the course and it's live in our amazing virtual spaces, by the way, we have virtual conference centers and virtual coffee shops and virtual rooftop bars and all kinds of amazing spaces that people can move around in and have an as if they were there experience. Then those things can all be had at breakthroughnegotiating.com. We've got breakthrough events, breakthroughevents.co, where you could sort of run your own events. iBreakthrough.com is where we do all of our development. It's our digital production studio, so you can go there. And of course, you can always just go to kevingreene.com and figure it all out from there, right there, if you want to. Greene has an E on the end, kevingreene.com. And you can also actually book a meeting with me on my calendar there if you'd like to as well. And I'd be happy to chat with any of you guys for taking the time to watch this video. I appreciate it very much, and I'd be happy to sit down and chat with you about anything you want to talk about, whether it's negotiation or leadership or AI or whatever it is. But anyway, thanks so much for your time, everybody. I really appreciate it.
Amazing. And I did just put up the QR code for the MindStudio certification. Peter, can you quickly let us know what the upcoming sessions are? And they can visit mindstudio.academy for more information and the options.
Yeah, of course. So our next cohort starts on June 1st. We run them on Saturdays every other week, roughly twice a month. We have a 3-level, sort of 3-tiered educational framework, right? So it's a path to mastery, starting with the fundamentals of the MindStudio platform as a place to build your own AI automations, assistants, chatbots, solutions really for any type of problem. And then we guide people through some level 2 is really mastering that foundational set of tools and learning best practices, as well as third-party integrations. One of the greatest powers of MindStudio right now is, and Kevin alluded to this in this presentation, is the ability to have integrations with third-party software through API access, right? So coming in and out, and there's, a ton of different ways to, even run a MindStudio AI entirely in the background, right? It really is a back-end service headlessly. So, if you don't want to necessarily have a user using, a live chatbot interface, but you want to run it automatically, or you want to run it from your Slack, for example, you can do that. And so there's so many different ways. That's what level 2 starts to get into. Level 3 is really focusing on how to use all of these new tools and frameworks, for solving real business problems. What are the considerations you need to really have in mind when you're going out and building for your company, for other organizations, right? How do you price your services? How do you, model the costs here from, the different AI models? And how do you go out and solve real world business problems with MindStudio? And so those are the 3 different categories. We have, through the MindStudio certification bundle, access for 60 days to come and take those in any order as many times as you want live, as well as access to all the recordings, live office hours 3 times a week, as well as, private Discord channel with support resources. We're adding in entire asynchronous pre-recorded modules as well currently to match and supplement each of these 3 different, live sessions. And it's a blast. It's a great community. Honestly, the most fun part of it for me is connecting individually with students during our office hours, during our live courses, learning where they're coming from, helping them think through some of these, solutions and real life applications for, AIs with MindStudio solving a huge range of problems, right? From, negotiation, as we saw with Kevin, to, financial modeling, right? Financial literacy, language translation at scale, production assistance, so many different ways of using these powerful tools in MindStudio. And, it's really fun to connect directly with students. I see we have Lewis, who's one of our current students in the chat here. And come join us. Yeah, we would love to hear from you, and happy to chat with you personally as well about our programming and, some of our ongoing, updated curriculum and offerings.
Yes, and thank you for the question. I did just put Kevin's LinkedIn profile in the chat. There are a number of Kevin Greenes, including another NFL Kevin Greene. So
he was way more successful than I was, by the way. Nobody ever thinks of me when they hear my name.
So, well, wonderful. Thank you, Kevin and Peter, for joining me today. We will be back next week for the next MindStudio Developer Showcase. And this was really exciting to see what you put together. And I know I am definitely going to be in touch about having a virtual coffee shop meeting. That's such a cool idea. So thank you all. We really appreciate it. If you have any additional questions, feel free to pop them in the comments and we'll revisit and get you the information.